Your dog is staring at you right now, and it already knows something you don't want it to know. Maybe you said you'd take it for a walk and then sat back down. Maybe you're holding a treat behind your back, pretending your hands are empty. Whatever the lie is, no matter how small, something in that animal's brain is already processing the gap between what you said and what you're actually doing. Here is the question nobody really asks. Do animals know when you're lying? The answer is stranger than yes or no. Dr. Brian Hare, an evolutionary anthropologist at Duke University, has spent decades studying how animals read human behavior. His research on dogs revealed something remarkable. Dogs are exceptionally good at reading human intention, sometimes better than chimpanzees, our closest genetic relatives. In one experiment, researchers hid food under one of two cups, then pointed at the correct cup. Dogs followed the human gesture immediately and accurately. Chimpanzees, despite being far more cognitively complex in other ways, largely ignored the pointing and searched randomly instead. This tells you something unexpected. Dogs did not evolve alongside humans because they are smarter than other animals. They evolved specifically to read us. Thousands of generations of domestication selected for animals that could detect human intention, attention, and yes, deception with remarkable precision. So when you hide that treat behind your back, your dog isn't confused. It's reading microsignals you don't even know you're sending. The slight stiffness in your shoulders, the way your eyes flick toward your hand, the change in your voice pitch when you're trying to sound casual. Dr. Alexandra Horowitz, who studies canine cognition at Barnard College, found that dogs are remarkably sensitive to what researchers call deceptive intent, even when they cannot understand the actual content of human speech. A dog cannot understand the sentence, "I already fed you," but it can absolutely detect the subtle behavioral shift in a human who knows they're being dishonest. This raises an uncomfortable question. If a dog can detect deception this reliably, what about animals we don't live with at all? Consider ravens. Dr. Thomas Bugnyar, who studies corvid behavior, documented something extraordinary. Ravens will deliberately mislead other ravens about the location of hidden food, but only when they believe they are being watched by a potential thief. If no other raven is nearby, they cache food openly. If a rival is watching, they will pretend to hide food in one location while secretly storing it elsewhere. This means ravens are not simply reacting to deception. They are actively practicing it themselves, which requires understanding that another mind can be misled in the first place. Here is where this gets genuinely unsettling. To deceive someone, or to detect deception, an animal needs something psychologists call theory of mind. It needs to understand that another creature has its own separate set of beliefs, and that those beliefs can be manipulated or mistaken. For decades, scientists assumed theory of mind was a uniquely human trait, something that separated us definitively from the rest of the animal kingdom. That assumption is now collapsing under the weight of evidence. Dr. Franz de Waal documented chimpanzees engaging in what researchers call tactical deception. A lower-ranking male chimpanzee, upon spotting food, will sometimes suppress his natural excited reaction if a dominant male is nearby, waiting until he's alone to retrieve it. This requires the chimpanzee to understand that the dominant male doesn't know about the food, and that revealing his own knowledge through visible excitement would cost him the prize. That is not instinct, that is calculated, deliberate deception, based on a working model of what another mind does and does not know. Now think about this from the opposite angle. If animals can deceive and animals can model what others know, it follows that some animals must also be able to detect when they themselves are being deceived. Dr. Nicola Clayton's research on scrub jays revealed exactly this. These birds cache food for later, and if they notice another jay watching them hide it, they will return later, once alone, to relocate the food to a new hiding spot. This single behavior demonstrates the bird understands it was observed, suspects the observer might use that information dishonestly, and takes preventive action accordingly. This means a bird with a brain the size of a walnut can track who's what about whom, and adjust its behavior based on the possibility of being deceived or robbed. So if a raven, a scrub jay, and a chimpanzee can all participate in this complex web of deception and detection, why does this feel so surprising to us? The answer lies in how humans have historically underestimated animal cognition specifically because it benefits us to do so. Dr. Hare points out that for centuries, scientific consensus assumed animals operated almost entirely on instinct, with no real inner mental life comparable to our own. This assumption made it easier to justify everything from factory farming to laboratory testing. If an animal cannot truly think, suffer, or be deceived in any meaningful sense, our treatment of them carries less moral weight. But the deception research dismantles that comfortable assumption piece by piece. An animal capable of modeling another mind well enough to deceive it, or detect being deceived by it, possesses a level of psychological complexity that should fundamentally change how we think about animal experience. Here is something that should genuinely unsettle you. Dr. Horowitz's research suggests dogs may be tracking your honesty over time, building what amounts to a reputation model of you specifically. In one study, dogs that watched a human give false directions to find hidden treats became measurably less likely to trust that same person's pointing gestures in future trials, while continuing to trust a different person who had been consistently honest. Your dog isn't just reading your current behavior. It may be keeping a running tally of how trustworthy you've proven to be over the entire history of your relationship. This reframes something almost every pet owner has experienced but never quite named: the slight hesitation some dogs show toward certain people. The way an animal will respond eagerly to one family member's commands, but seem skeptical of another's. This might not be random preference. It could be an accumulated trust score built from hundreds of small interactions the animal has been quietly tracking the entire time. Now extend this further. Elephants have been observed reacting with apparent distress to the bones of deceased elephants, even unrelated individuals, while showing no comparable reaction to other large bones. Dr. Karen McComb's research suggests elephants may possess something resembling a concept of death specific to their own species, a kind of awareness that requires understanding not just behavior, but mental and emotional states. If an elephant can recognize that another elephant's life has ended and respond with what looks remarkably like grief, the line between human and animal inner experience becomes far blurrier than most of us were ever taught to believe. This doesn't mean every animal is silently judging your moral character with human-level sophistication. The theory of mind demonstrated by ravens or dogs is almost certainly simpler, more limited, and more specifically tuned to survival-relevant situations than human social cognition. A raven isn't contemplating abstract philosophical questions about honesty. It's solving an immediate practical problem about food security. But simpler does not mean absent, and limited does not mean non-existent. Dr. DeWall often argued that the search for uniquely human traits has consistently failed, again and again, as research methods improve. Tool use was once considered uniquely human, until chimpanzees were observed crafting termite fishing sticks. Language was considered uniquely human, until researchers documented the sophisticated alarm call systems of vervet monkeys, capable of distinguishing between different predator types with specific, learned vocal signals. Theory of mind, the capacity to model another's beliefs and detect deception, appears to be following the exact same pattern. Each time science assumes it has found the wall separating us from other animals, that wall turns out to be more permeable than expected. So the next time you find yourself hiding a treat behind your back, or telling your dog you're just stepping out for a second when you both know it's longer than that, consider what's actually happening in that moment. You're not simply talking to a creature running on pure instinct. You're engaging with a mind that has spent thousands of generations learning to read exactly the kind of behavioral cues you're producing right now, whether you intend to send them or not. Your dog already knows something you don't want it to know. It always did.